Hey, how you doing, everyone? My name is Michael, the chairman, and welcome to the Chairman of the Board podcast. My guest today is Auren. Let me get it right. Auren Shael Kiri. Sorry, it's kind of is that
That's
close?
right.
Okay,
that's
Auren,
that's
right?
perfect.
Okay,
Yep,
cool.
Auren. Yes, sir.
Auren. So yeah, I found you on TikTok, and I was just telling you before we started recording, like you do a great job about talking about just all the shit going on in the world without the BS and the performances, just cutting to the chase and saying like, hey, this is a problem, what's going on
hmm
politically, economically, and not just now, just in general, since the dawn of modern history, or just history in general. You talk about spirituality a little bit too, and we'll get into that.
hmm
But thank you for coming on my podcast, Aaron. He's telling me I'm the first that you're coming on, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. This is gonna be fun. I've been looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. So yeah,
hmm
my first question, which I think you'll have a lot to say, is uh, it's just funny in general. Do you think our tax dollars are being used effectively?
Ah, short answer, no. As a matter of fact, I fully believe that our tax dollars are not even really being used at all. Um, Throughout this journey that I've been going through the past 12 months or so, I've come to find out that these tax dollars that the government says is supposed to be used for various things like education and infrastructure and all of the hot topic things they say that our tax dollars are supposed to be used for. It's all just part of the whole grand monetary currency illusion, and ultimately they just go into a loop. The Federal Reserve creates currency to send out into the ether, and we soak it up through various forms, including our paychecks and things like that, and then we send it right back to the IRS through various payments like our mortgages and our groceries and our utilities, and then of course our taxes as well. So, but none of it goes to infrastructure. I mean, just drive down any back road and you'll notice that the dilapidated asphalt is story enough.
Right. And the Federal Reserve is not even fucking federal.
It's
It's
not.
right. Right.
It is
That's
neither
insane, right?
federal nor holds any reserves.
Yeah. They just print money out of thin air. And I was going to ask you about this too later about how like our money is debt. It's not like real money. So like here, I'll just ask you the question now. Like, what's the
Mhm.
difference between real currency and the currency based on debt, like the US dollar?
There really is no difference. Your dollars that you have in your wallet right now are literally the exact same thing as the paper money that comes in the game of Monopoly.
Mm.
It's literally that valuable. It's paper, and all it is just a tool to kind of create some type of order, among people. How can you imagine going to the store and just maybe taking a few items here and there and taking just enough as opposed to taking too much? So of course they come up with the dollar to try to create some kind of order for that.
Right. It's about keeping people like where they are. And it's about
Yeah.
power, right? Not even about money. And we're seeing that with, Israel and how much we send them. I don't know if you've seen this, like people would ask ChatGPT, how much
Uh-huh.
would it cost to end world hunger and homelessness and all these like giant issues? And it's all within our range of being easily doable. Like it's in
hmm
the hundreds of billions, and we've sent Israel total like $1 trillion now.
hmm
So it just shows you that the system is working as intended. And I think people are reaching that class consciousness of like, hey, we are clearly getting fucked over here. And now you're getting us to the point where you're using ICE, where people are just signing up, right? Random
hmm
people only trained for 47 days, even trained. Like, what does that even mean? And
Right.
they're just killing US citizens. And Trump is saying now, like, he's going to start deporting US born citizens. You see that now?
hmm I have heard of that. Yeah, he's absolutely demolishing every part of, what we would call our Constitution, and it's heartbreaking. It's also maddening at the same time. This whole currency system that we got is it's literally nothing more than an illusion, and it was created to do nothing more than just keep us distracted. When you spend 40 hours a week or like myself personally, 110 hours per 2 week pay period, just working and chasing that dollar for scraps, for nothing. I make $15 an hour where I'm at. And
Mm,
I'm almost 37 years old. It's a small family owned business. So it's technically next to nothing. And I'm fortunate to be in a affordable living situation. So I'm self
mm,
sufficient. But the whole idea of money is just, it's a pure and utter distraction. And even like what you had kind of mentioned a moment ago, those dollars that get sent over to Israel, none of the dollars that get sent over there are actually the same tax dollars that come from our little economy that we have within the country. There's a whole separate black market economy that funds all of that supranational, multi mafia family conglomerate, and nobody knows that
hmm.
because of the narrative.
Could you describe to me what that black market economy is like?
Yeah, I mean it's funded by things like trafficking. Unfortunately, is huge. Epstein himself, part of the reason they don't want the Epstein files released is because he was a node. He was kind of like a center point for all of these people who were part of that system, and that system is a complete and separate economy that they use to fund all of these different government schemes and agendas that they have, without even touching the tax dollars that we quote send to the IRS. They don't meet anywhere, but they tell us that they do through all of these different reports that they put out on the news. How many times have we heard, oh, we don't have enough money to fund education, or we don't have enough money to fix our roads, or to fund public healthcare, and it's all fake. It's all a lie. The government prints money at will, and that fact alone should be enough to get people to question, if they can print money at will, why can't they just send it to my school, or send it to the hospital, or send it to, you know what I mean? But then
Hmm.
trillions all of a sudden will magically appear overnight, and they can send it to either Israel or Ukraine, or bail out some business.
Yeah, bail out the banks and all that stuff. And like, it just shows you that it's working as intended. They can fix all the problems, and
Hmm.
they're choosing to only spend it on war to cause more suffering and death and destruction. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's no point. I think people have lost all faith in the system because the system isn't even remotely working for us at
Hmm.
all. And it's profiting. Like I talked about in my last podcast, you said you were watching my clips from that, where like the
Hmm.
system is capitalizing off of survival and made survival a game, which is literally the Hunger Games. And now they're
Hmm.
just trying to do it in real life with the Patriot Games. And Trump is genuinely President Snow. I mean, it's insane.
Oh yeah, I've seen video clips making that comparison, and I mean it's uncanny just how identical that is. And it's scary. And honestly, people should lose their faith in the system, because the system was never even created to serve us in the first place.
Mm,
There may have been a time, say, maybe prior to 1913, before the creation of the Federal Reserve and the IRS, that there might have been some semblance of a government that did, work for the people. But the government that we have now is not that. It's a completely separate rogue entity that is comprised of nothing more than cultists and criminals. Just it's propped up by blackmail and international espionage, and people just they go along with this, assuming that our vote can change this. But when you really look at the big picture, and you understand that every 4 years they dangle two different puppets in front of our face, but it's puppet one or puppet two, and we're voting for the lesser of two evils every four
mhm.
years what does that say about our system?
It shouldn't even be acceptable that people are like, well, it's the less of two evils. Yeah, both are evil. So what are you going to do about it? That's always been
Right.
insane to me. And like,
Hmm.
so Trump first ran for president in 2016 when I turned 18 in high school. And
Hmm.
I voted for him when I turned 18 because I always asked my grandfather when I was a child, I was like, why do people say the president is a bad guy? Like, I didn't understand, like, he's supposed to be cops are good guys, president good guy. And I'm like, why are they saying politicians are corrupt? And he explained to me, like, they got to raise money. And then when people give them money, they owe favors once they're in office and all that stuff. I'm like, huh, so why doesn't someone who's just like a good person run with their own money say I'm not owned and then do the right thing. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Someone should do that. So I said that when I was like 8. And then when I was 18, Trump ran. I didn't know him from his past stuff. I didn't know him as a con man or anything. I just saw him as a politician doing exactly what I would have done, saying like, hey, like, I'm going to do the right thing. No one can own me. So like, oh, good, finally. And then obviously this motherfucker is Satan and deceived the whole world. He did the absolute opposite of everything he said he was going to do, which, you know, all politicians do. But I mean, he really, really did it because he was so outspoken and is the word brazen, like about just saying like, I'm going to release the Epstein files when he is the Epstein files. Like that's
Absolutely.
so insane. That's so insane.
They say hindsight's 2020, right?
I know, yeah. After 2020, I realized, oh, this guy's full of shit and he's fucking evil. And I was just done voting after that because I realized it's all a scheme. I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. And George Carlin talked about like, hey, if you're voting for any of these fuckers, like you're kind of liable for this too. So participating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Maybe local's different. Do you think local's different?
I do. I think local is vastly different, you know. And I talk about this with several of my coworkers, my boss at the small mechanic shop that I work at. It's far easier to affect change, you know, on a local level. This this centralized national government that we have, first of all, in a country the size of ours, I mean, it's just impossible to believe that one little dot on the map in a geography as large as the United States is going to be able to control the entire thing. And honestly, it's kind of silly to think about the fact that people who are living in states as far as Alaska or Hawaii or California are even listening to the things that are coming out of Washington, D.C., because they're so far away. They're so far away. But I understand what you mean too about what you had said, you know, voting for Trump. And I think one of the things that had catalyzed his political career is the fact that he was so brazen. And I think people were kind of hypnotized by, you know, the fact that he's a businessman. Um, of course, completely ignoring the fact that he had bankrupted, what is it, six casinos or something
Yeah.
like that.
He's fucking Biff from Back to the Future. That has to be
Right.
confirmed. He is. He 100% is.
Right. But compared to what people had been used to, you know, just these talking points. And here we have a guy who's, I guess, not afraid to speak his mind, which I guess in some would be a redeemable quality.
Well, people were craving some outsider who's speaking the truth, right? People were so hungry
Exactly.
for truth, and that's how he manipulated everyone, is telling half truths and full truths, and then just
Right.
inverting it later, gaslighting everyone like we're fucking retarded. I mean,
Right.
it's insane.
Yeah, which in my opinion kind of speaks to the short-sightedness of people because the whole time that he had started even building his political career, people seem to completely forget the things that he had said back at the time that he said those, you know, like when he was recorded on that bus talking about grabbing women by the groin, you know, or even back
It's
in
just
the I
locker
think it
room
was
talk. It's just locker
right,
room talk.
right. Yeah, sure. That's the excuse, right?
Yeah.
You know, or even back in the 80s when it was clearly known. It was public knowledge that this man was absolutely not renting his properties to African Americans, you know, but here he is in 2016 and I mean that was not so far in the past, but we've completely forgotten it and then for the few who do remember, again, we come up with excuses. Why? Because, you know, oh, he's speaking his mind. And I mean, here's a president who's not afraid to drop an F bomb and he's, you know, he's different. So he's gonna affect change. That was the spell. That was the magic spell that put everybody under his
That's what it
control.
feels like, right? It feels like spells.
It
I mean,
is.
I we chatted a little bit and DM'd about stuff, and like we were both kind of spiritual and stuff, and I really realized all that shit is real, like frequency, vibration, and what we say, like it's literally called spelling when we're writing stuff. Like it's spells and all that shit in our consciousness and saying things and manifesting stuff is fucking real. And when you put people in a form of hypnosis, I know as a comedian, like when you're telling jokes and everyone's paying attention, you get into a rhythm. It's almost like hypnosis and getting people to calm down. And you can even, like George Carlin, again, was a master at this. introducing new ideas to people through humor. Like you lower people's defenses, acknowledge, the thing that's glaring in front of everyone, pointing that out, getting some trust from their side, and then just saying, like, planting new ideas, like, hey, listen to this perspective now that your guard is down, and this perspective. I mean, he was so ahead of his time, and he's been proven right about like everything.
He has. George Carlin is actually one of my heroes. I love the man. He's great, and he's been calling this out for so long, And God bless the man for using his platform to try to wake people up,
Yeah.
because he does, and at least he does it in a digestible way, through the comedy, because the truths about all of this they're not easy. They are really not easy. I have a deep and sincere belief that part of the reason that we see such a terrible suicide rate is because of this exactly right here. How many people throughout history have learned this information and just decided to unfortunately self-delete? Because how do you reconcile that your entire life has been a lie, and that the paradise you could have lived in, the life you could have had, was literally stolen from you?
I've gone through the same thing, bro. I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday, just
Mhm.
how lonely that spiritual awakening journey is. I
Mhm.
mean, many different awakenings, awakening to, economic awakening, political awakening, and spiritual awakening. They're all
Mhm.
kind of their own separate thing. And yeah, it's just so lonely because no one around you. I mean, most people who wake up, they're the only one around them, that's awake. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
just so fucking isolating. And I've been thinking about George must have been, even though he was surrounded by comics and stuff, and I'm sure had a good time, he must have still felt really alone being that ahead of his time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, another good one to bring up as an example would probably be Robin Williams.
Mm,
Same thing. I mean,
yeah.
what secrets did he know? Because again, public knowledge. Everybody knew that even though he was such a uh, uh, happy person on screen, and a phenomenal comedian, uh, several of the people who were closest to him have disclosed that, I mean, in his private life, he was just absolutely devastated on a day-to-day basis, and it was
Hmm.
ultimately that depression in his personal life that caused him to unfortunately leave us far too soon.
Yeah.
So it's the humor, I think, and the style that George Carlin does it. That's why he's one of my heroes, and it's kind of why I take the sarcastic tone in my videos that I do, just straight and to the point. And I try to shoot a little bit of humor in there,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you kind of have to be direct with this stuff because a lot of the times, just the soft, gentle message, like what I see so often in the whole spiritual community with this spiritual passivity,
Hmm.
oh, remain in your calm, and it's all about the chakra and the alignment. No, that's important, sure, but this
Hmm.
is a crime against humanity, and we should be angry about it.
Well, like Jesus talked about, faith without works is dead. And then
Hmm.
Paul in the Bible, who was a Roman citizen and based, I didn't know, I wrote an article recently on my Substack about this, that most of the New Testament is all written by Paul. Like most of the
Hmm.
books are by him. And he counters what Jesus said in like almost every way and
Hmm.
manipulated his words and just used Roman systems logic and stuff. And
Hmm.
he said the complete opposite. Like, nope, just have faith and don't do anything. You don't need to be like Jesus. Just believe in Jesus and you're saved. And don't emulate him or like he said. All Jesus was like, you'll do better works than I did. He's like, yeah, you're
Right.
going to be you and I. It's a relationship, not just like worship me and believe in me. Like, yeah, you should believe in Jesus and you can call him and build a relationship with him, but he wants you to do good, not just sit around and do nothing.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of the wildest thoughts to think that Jesus would absolutely be the type who would be in the streets, marching with the protesters, screaming at the top of his lungs, and flipping the tables and throwing the chairs,
Exactly. You'd be
whereas Paul would be locked away in a room just meditating.
right. Yeah. Or just manipulating people. I don't even think just meditating. I think
Right?
manipulating people into more systems, right?
Yeah,
Of control. That's
exactly.
what it became, which is
Right.
everything that Jesus rebelled against. Jesus was a rebel. He rebelled against the status quo, all the religions, and he's like, no, I'm here to free you and wake you up, not just, give you a new structure, a new control system to say, hey, you're going to hell.
Hmm.
unless you believe these certain beliefs. He was trying to be like, no, like you need to be like me. You need to embody the kingdom of heaven within you, not just believe I'm going to go to the next kingdom after this, and I just need to wait this shit out and suffer. And he's like, you should help the poor and feed the poor, help your love your neighbor, not
Exactly.
not hate your neighbor and then be like, oh, sorry about that. Let me into heaven because I said sorry after I did all these terrible
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
Right. And another thing that people forget too is that Jesus typically surrounded himself with whom? The misfits.
Right.
He was the
Yeah.
first one to embrace the rebel, or the harlot, or the disease ridden. He was very much surrounded by those kinds of people because he knew. I mean, several times he called out, you are a brood of vipers. He knew.
Hmm.
And that's a fact that is so often overlooked. And of course, it's not even taught in church. So of course, people forget about it. Uh, because it's far too often, even in the church or in a lot of the major religious establishments, they do that whole same spiritual passivity thing, turn the other cheek. And sure, they preach the love and the kindness, but they do it in the way that is just be quiet, be calm, be tolerant. And I
Hmm.
think that's the wrong message that people need right now. You can still be um, calm in your anger and deliver your message with a tone that at least lets people know I'm angry about this, and yeah, I'm not going to act a fool, but this is not okay
Righteous
at
anger
all.
is a thing. Like it's
Absolutely.
it's needed, right? Like I,
Absolutely.
I've learned in my life that love is fierce. Love isn't just all gentle. Love is fierce in protecting the innocent and the just and the good. Like love
Hmm.
isn't passive. Love is an active verb, and people forget
Hmm.
that. It's. I remember I said this on my last podcast, but
Hmm.
like I've been going out and I'll pass out roses and flowers to people and say, "Hey, you're worthy of everything your heart desires." I've been trying to do that frequently and just do acts of kindness. And some people will get fucking furious. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean I'm
Which is
worthy of my heart's?
wild.
But it triggers their programming because it just
Hmm.
brings all that shit up and they can't. And usually it's people who are boomers and older that are freaking out. Younger people are like, "Oh my god, thank you! I need this so much. Like you made my day."
Hmm.
And there's some older people that are like that too, but the ones that do kind of freak out are usually my parents' generation that are like, "Nothing's free. What are you talking about? There's only bad in the world, and what you want money? You want something from me?" I'm like, no, I'm just like giving
Hmm.
out flowers, and I'm giving out I'll give out Christmas presents. I dress up as Santa and like gave out presents, and
Hmm.
it just kind of triggers people. It's weird to see.
They don't know how to handle that kind of energy because it literally puts a glitch in their programming.
In the Matrix.
And exactly, in the whole
Yeah.
matrix. And I mean, what happens whenever you have a glitch in your modem? You typically, what, you have to like turn it off and reset it. It does the
Uh,
same thing to people. When you do something like that, they glitch out and they don't know how to process it, they don't know how to handle it. And I think a lot of times in those situations, when people encounter the unknown, what they don't understand, they either react in
Fear.
anger or in fear. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Absolutely.
I think it's so important that like in one of my articles I talked about like when I was doing this, I felt like I was rebelling just by being kind because it's so
Hmm.
not the norm. And I think that there are angry ways we should be rebelling and speaking our mind and not tolerating BS, but also just being kind to the everyday person and doing acts of kindness is a form of rebellion. And we're going to need it too. Like if we were protesting and doing tax strikes and stuff, we're going to have to be kind to each other and take care of each other in our community and start building those possibilities. And I think doing acts of kindness for each other just shows people, hey, it's possible that random good things can happen too, not
Hmm.
just random bad events. Whether it's your health or the economy and politicians doing shit to you. Like we can help each other. We can, and not even just always with physical stuff, just complimenting people. I know in one of my other
Absolutely.
articles too, I talked about like, I mean, I've been through some fucking insane shit. And I was in the middle of like having 12 eye surgeries in college. I was trying to deal with
Mhm.
college and all these eye surgeries. And I had a heart surgery, and I was also dying and coming back to life over and over again. So I was
Oh my
going through
goodness.
it, and I wanted to fucking kill myself. I was just so done. And
Ugh.
this woman walked by me, and I was just wearing these like Target, shitty blue shoes that my mom had gotten me a long time ago. And she just complimented my shoes. I remember, I was in the middle of thinking, I want to kill myself. I'm just so done with this. And just that one comment of like, hey, I like your shoes, bro. I'm like, oh, thank you. It pulls you out of just thinking about being miserable that someone chose to embody the possibility of goodness in that moment and that we're all
Mhm.
capable of doing that. And that's what Jesus stood for. And that's what we should all be working towards. And when you see politicians doing the complete opposite of that,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be tolerated at all, right? Like, isn't it insane that it's just been normalized and Trump is the epitome of a narcissist normalizing all that shit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a video on my profile that says exactly that. So many people are in a narcissistic, abusive relationship with the government. And the reason that they're afraid to leave it is almost exactly the same reason that anyone would be afraid to leave like a personal abusive narcissistic relationship. It's the fear of the unknown. It's that fear of change. And I've had so many conversations about this exact thing actually with a couple of my uncles. And I've even had a history of terrible relationships as well. Um, the crazy thing is that's so mind boggling is that even if a relationship is absolute hell, so many times we just choose to stay in it because at least we know what's coming. We wake up every single day. We know it's going to be a terrible day. We know that nothing's going to change. As hopeful as we are that it might, we want to see the good in absolutely everyone. But it's that it's that fear of leaving and either being alone or abandoned or rejected. All of these different things keep us in that relationship, and that's what we see in the political realm right now with what's going on with our government. People have absolutely been seduced by it, and they are so afraid to step away from it because what that means is you have to take accountability and responsibility for yourself. You are literally severing yourself from the corporate and political feeding tube, which is what we have right now. We have outsourced our own responsibility and our sovereignty to a government that is supposed to apparently keep law and order and make society function, and then a corporate world that is supposed to feed us and house us. And so we're so comfortable and used to our central heat and air and our plumbing and all of these different little things that have made us so comfortable that we'd rather stay in a comfortable slave system rather than step out into the uncomfortable unknown and even risk an opportunity at freedom because it means we actually have to look within ourselves and hold ourselves and each other accountable. It's bringing
Mhm.
back that village mentality where we are our brother's keeper. We are supposed to help each other, watch each other, lift each other up. So it just blows my mind that people are afraid of that mentality and they'd rather choose to just continue to be abused, continue to be manipulated, continue to be controlled, all because, well, that's just how the world works. And that's all they're used
Mhm.
to, right?
Exactly right.
It's that fear. It's that fear.
It's the fear of responsibility. And I think many
Hmm.
people are fearful of their own power too, of what we're all capable of. Because once you
Agreed.
get pushed to a certain limit, which I think a lot of people have very recently, and
Hmm.
from many different reasons, that we're capable of doing, like, we're capable of overthrowing the government. And that's actually kind of scary. We're seeing other
Oh, sure.
governments around the world doing it right now, like in Nepal and, was it Nepal,
Hmm.
right? Nepal and
Yep.
Italy, I heard they're shutting down like everything. Like they're not going to work or doing anything right now and
I
completely
had seen
reforming the
something
government.
about that. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Italy's citizens they went out and bought like worth a month's worth of supplies, and then they
Hmm.
just they stayed home.
Yeah. And so we're totally capable of doing it here too. And I
Hmm.
think that scares people, like you said, the unknown of how are we going to eat? How are we going to adjust? There's no backup plan. There's no safe transition on how we're going to do this. So I think people like you are necessary who are getting to the point with no BS, just saying like, hey, this needs to be done. But also I've seen you give like alternatives like, hey, we can start doing this and this and this to get the process going. And I see other
Mhm.
people doing it all across TikTok and coming together and organizing. I think that's beautiful. And
Absolutely.
so let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
So two questions that go hand in hand. I'll ask you this one first. And you kind of mentioned it. How would you describe comfortable slavery versus uncomfortable freedom?
I mean, it's exactly, yeah, just kind of circling back to what we were talking about a moment ago. That comfortable slavery, it's exactly what we're used to. I mean, anybody at home right now can look around at the room that they're sitting in, and that's it. That's comfortable slavery right there. You have your nice warm house, that you pay your rent or your mortgage on with your central heat and air or your fireplace and your plumbing and your dishwasher and all of these, conveniences that we have. And that's kind of the trick right there, is that we've been sold all of these different conveniences that have, quote, made life easy. um, and we've gotten lazy and comfortable because of it. I mean, just look at, like in the education system, we used to have shop class, we used to have agriculture class, we used to have home ec, but those have slowly been phased out. So literally, we've got a generation of adults who don't know how to grow a garden unless they take the initiative to learn how to do it themselves. We have a generation of adults who apparently believe that people are just animalistic and that we're barbaric. And even the term anarchy has been demonized. It's to the point that people don't understand that it doesn't mean no rules, it just means no rulers, you know? And so that comfortable slavery is that it's everything that we have in the modern world right now. And the uncomfortable freedom is literally the antithesis to that. It's self responsibility, it is sovereignty, it is self governance, using your own common sense and your own moral compass to, I mean, do something as simple as, like, if you look at another person and understand that if I pinch myself, that kind of hurts, so I probably shouldn't do that to the next person.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's really,
Common
but
sense.
people,
Yeah.
it's so common sense, but
Yeah.
people have overcomplicated it. And, going back to kind of, well, how do we feed ourselves? That's a challenge. It's a very real challenge, because who knows how to grow a tomato? You were so
Hmm.
dependent on this system where it goes from the farm to the truck to the store, and the only way you can get it is to pay your little subscription fee in the form of your grocery bills
And
to be able
everything's
to
a
get.
subscription. Everything's a subscription now,
Exactly, exactly.
including life. Like rent is a subscription to life that we're
Yeah,
born
you
into
could.
that we didn't choose.
That's right. You could put the word subscription into absolutely any situation, and that's what life has become. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Klaus Schwab said it the best, when he was head of the World Economic Forum. He said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's been
Hmm.
the plan this whole time, and they've been taking steps to do this. They literally want us to just rent our lives back from them. And if you really take a step back and look at, even just as one example, our whole economic system, that's what it is. And the money just moves in a loop. You get paid, you give it back. You get paid, you give it back. You get paid, you pay your taxes, and it's a never-ending cycle, you know?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's the difference between that comfortable slavery and the uncomfortable freedom.
So for optimal, uncomfortable freedom, how
Mhm.
should our cities be optimized for the best case scenario for humanity?
Ooh, this is one of my favorite ones. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I even had, I even kind of I used AI to create an image of just an example of what a city would look like. Um, I I don't see why we don't treat things like food and water and electricity not as utilities and subscription fees, but as actual infrastructure. So why can't we build green cities where we have, greenhouses and trees with fruits and berry bushes literally lining the streets? I mean, we don't need concrete sidewalks. We don't need front yards that have nothing but crabgrass that don't grow anything else. We do, it's absolutely insane. People are so amazingly innovative and creative and so smart when they're allowed to be. The reason they're not smart now is because they've been trained out of that. But when they're allowed to create and innovate, I don't see why there's no possible way that we could utilize AI and technology to automate systems that just on their own, hydroponic agriculture, for example, make that a part of your inner city, not just growing food out at some farm hundreds of miles away, but you have actual infrastructure inside the buildings and outside the buildings where you could step out of your front door on any given day and you don't have to even worry about where you're going to have lunch while you're out exploring the beauty that is around you because you could just step into your front yard and have an apple or a peach or whatever and then the rest of the day is yours to do whatever.
Which is basically like the solar punk vibe. Have you heard of that?
I absolutely have.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the funniest part about that too is because it doesn't even have to cost anything. Because again, money's fake. It has no value in the first place.
Mhm.
So the people who would build this obviously would have to do it on a volunteer basis. But if you look at any tribe that still operates in today's world that doesn't use money, they volunteer to take care of each other.
Mhm.
It's not that hard. But again, we've been trained out of that volunteer mentality because we have this sense of entitlement, you know, and
Well,
we're
right.
just
It's
used
all
to,
about culture. I
right.
believe that in order to have a revolution, a true, real revolution, we need to completely revitalize our culture with a
Hmm.
new. I always kind of think of like almost like a culture of bacteria. Like our current culture is just like mold. Like it's just
Hmm.
decayed, terrible bacteria, and we need some sort of probiotic, some sort of new culture for us to thrive and just have just immense creativity to form a solar punk kind of vibe like you talked about.
Hmm.
What would you call it? Like the garden cities. We should be able to live like a Garden of Eden kind of vibe, just 24/7. That's what it should be. That's what it probably originally was until
Hmm.
whatever took over to make this stuff. Like you look around America, it's just one giant fucking mall, and it's a minimalist mall too. Like malls in the
Hmm.
'90s and right 2000s were kind of had colors, and even McDonald's had a bunch of colors and cool designs. And now it's just
Hmm.
all drab, monotone colors that just erases your soul. It's awful.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the famous line in that song, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'd say
Hmm.
so.
They really
And
did. I mean, the Garden of Eden is it's under our feet right now, and it's not even some special singular place on the earth. The entire earth is the Garden of Eden. It
mm,
doesn't matter if you're in Egypt or if you're in Italy or if you're in Russia or America. Every bit of that can be the garden. Of course, yeah, sure, you're going to have different things that grow in different places, but it's all still one garden and it's right
mm,
under our feet. But as you just mentioned a moment ago, something at some point in the past decided to control that. And of course, the recourse after that is that we no longer have that garden because somebody literally stole it.
yeah, and I think I was trying to lean into this point earlier, but I didn't say it correctly. Like
Mhm.
the culture we have now is that narcissistic culture that's infiltrated everything and taught everyone like competition. So everyone, your neighbor is your enemy, which is the complete opposite of again what Jesus talked about. We're all competing against
Exactly.
each other, and it's permeated every aspect of our society. And the one example that gets me hated the most is sports. I always tell
Mm.
people I fucking hate sports with a passion. I think playing sports is cool on a smaller level, but I think
Mhm.
all the bread and circus type of like NFL stuff and just all of it is there to normalize the idea of teams and we're all fighting each other. And you should be proud of, your city you grew up in and start fights over this team or that team. I think it's just the stupidest thing ever. And same with movies and all this stuff. Like there are movies that teach you great lessons and there's great art, but a lot of it
Mm.
is programming us and manipulating. Like we talked about what Trump would do, saying half truths and manipulating people with those half truths into new systems of thought that are control systems.
Mhm.
We just need a new culture that's based on valuing togetherness and goodness, which we just don't have. Like we know the like rap music was infiltrated on purpose to feed the private prison system. That's like a great
Hmm.
example. That's a fact. That's and evil. That is pure evil.
You're
Private
100% correct.
prisons,
Yep.
just having private prisons is evil in itself. That's modern day slavery. It's insane that anyone tolerates that. And I point out one of my recent articles too. Like, if you agree with this, that do you think people have a tolerance for this besides the comfortable slavery versus uncomfortable freedom? Is that people feel like they're a statistic, that they're just one person. How can they make a difference? Like the quote I said, I referenced was Stalin when he's like, one death is a tragedy, but a
Hmm.
million deaths is a statistic. And I think that's what people kind of feel. Do you think that?
I would agree with that 100%, and there are a lot of different ingredients that went into that recipe that have created this isolation, and that was part of the design anyways. When you turn a society into you change them and transform them away from a group of unified people into individuals, right? I mean, look at just as one example in America, we have this whole idea that when you're 18 years old, you got to leave your parents' house, you got to go, get a job, and you got to get your own place, and all of this and that, the other. How many other countries in the world do they not do that? Where they keep the family unit in a
Mhm.
single building, but the whole family is there and they all work together to take care of each other. You know, I can think of quite a few different examples. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
China's one of them, or Japan, because it's a different culture.
And
Here
Mexico
in
too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, when you break down the family and the village into the individual, you get exactly what you're talking about, where people have adopted this mentality where, well, I'm just one person. So what can I do? Because I am, if I try to step out of line or if I try to make a change, well, yeah, they're going to squash me because I'm just one person.
Mhm.
And it's not surprising when you know that and when you can see that to understand why nobody wants to rise up because yeah, they feel like they're standing alone. Nobody right now believes, or at least too few believe, that if they step out of line and actually say something or do something or just embody the change that they want to see, they don't believe that anybody's going to actually take that step with them.
Mhm.
And
Same
that's
with like
why we
Epstein
find.
victims, right? Epstein
Mm,
victims for so long, they just like
exactly.
it felt like they won't be believed, and they weren't. Some tried to tell people, and it's so fucking just terrible that literally eyes wide shut is true, and people are panicking, trying to tell everyone like, "Hey, this shit's going on," and the truth. I told you earlier when we were texting, like Kanye has a perfect quote about this, like the truth is
Hmm.
crazy in a world full of lies. That's like the most
Hmm.
relevant quote. It's so concise and spot on. And
Hmm.
all the conspiracy theorists, like almost all of them have come true. And the fact that some people still deny this shit. Like I was talking to my
Yeah.
uncle during Thanksgiving, and I was like, he thinks Israel and he thinks Israel doesn't control our nation at all, and he thinks that Jeffrey Epstein acted alone. And I'm like, what? What? I don't even know how that's possible this day and age. I don't know. After all the information that's come
Man.
out, you think Epstein was working alone? I can't comprehend that. And he
Yeah.
also called himself
There's.
an elite later on at dinner. So I was like, oh, there you go. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. That is just completely mind-boggling. There's no way you get to the positions of power that these people have by acting alone. You absolutely have to have help.
right. With any
Hmm.
organization, and it's a whole giant trafficking ring. I mean, he can't be working alone. And someone killed him, obviously, too. Or
Yeah.
he's probably still alive in Israel, maybe, but we'll see.
The classic saying is, that they protect their own,
Hmm.
and so I fully believe that they probably went in and did the old switcheroo and probably got him because evil's going to protect evil. That's just what they do. That's how they keep the
Hmm.
system going. To a degree they do that, but also the one of the other things that kind of keeps that evil ring going is that in between all of these individual mafias that are operating on the planet right now, you also have the blackmail, the espionage. You have these things that are in place where they're even scared of each other because if any
Hmm.
single one of them decides that they're done with this, They can't speak up. They can't whistleblow because that's suicide instantly right there.
Right.
That is instant self-destruction. And so they have their own fear system that keeps everybody in line. And that's that's why they are the way they are.
And it's also why they do all those like evil satanic rituals and shit. That's like in
Hmm.
Eyes Wide Shut too. Is once you do that shit in private, like just do heinous, terrible things, you'll go do it to strangers so easily. You know, once you've had
Oh,
visceral
absolutely.
stuff in person. Yeah, and it's
Hmm.
just it's insane that we really live in that world, and it's just I think that so many people, like some people I've been talking to recently, they'll tell me like they just don't want to think about it
Mm.
because they can't. It's not that they can't handle it. They just don't. They want to focus on what's going on in their personal life. I'm like, well, this stuff is kind of affecting your personal life. It's at your door now, and the more you ignore it, like it's affecting you right now. Like even like just Neuralink and stuff like that, and the singularity. I've been trying to tell people like, hey, this is here now. Like
Hmm.
you need to focus on things that like jobs are going away soon. We're in the most transformational time ever, or at least in
Hmm.
our history that we know about. And there's like, no, I'm going to go get a job and do this and do that and do this. I'm like, do you not understand that we're at the singularity? Do you not understand that AI is taking
Hmm.
over? That some kind of AI gods being born at the same time, all this other spiritual stuff is happening, all this corruption is getting exposed. It affects you. Neuralink, everyone getting Neuralink, or the potential of people starting to get that, that affects your everyday life. Because once
Hmm.
some people start getting that stuff, you're going to become irrelevant. And let's say, best case scenario, it's all working out for the better. You need to figure out what your purpose is besides a 9 to 5 job. Just that alone, right? If people need
Exactly.
purpose. And the responses I get are just like, I don't want to think about it. I'm like, it's here. It's not. Elon Musk said we hit the singularity like 2 days ago. You see that?
Yeah. That's a very heartbreaking thought too. I mean, just simply not thinking about it, obviously, it doesn't make the problem going away. It doesn't make the problem go away. Sweeping the dirt under the rug doesn't mean that the dirt's gone. It's just under the rug, but it's definitely still there. And on the other hand, I kind of understand it to an extent too, because I mean, ignorance really is bliss you know and for me personally, I mean, I wasn't even the way that I am now as recently as 13 months ago. I really only
Hmm.
started going down the rabbit hole and diving down all of these things for it's been about a year, and I've downloaded all this information into my brain very rapidly, and I've digested all of this extremely quickly. And it's just the sheer uh, evil that exists. It's mind-boggling to think, kind of what you had mentioned. Like, we live in this. You know,
It's
that's
hell
the people.
essentially, right? Like this is what hell would be,
Yeah,
or at least
right,
a ring of hell. It's one of
right.
them.
One of
Yeah.
them. But so many people think like, oh no, that just happens in the movies, or oh, that's just in the video games, or should it's like,
Uh,
no, you're living it. And I mean, honestly, the video games and the movies and the things like that are just the clues to the reality. You know,
mhm.
there's a theory, and I fully believe it, that these people who are doing what they're doing, this managerial class, made some deal with some devil, the demiurge, whatever,
Mm.
to give them the power that they have. But the caveat was that they at least had to, in some form or fashion, disclose what they were doing. And so
Mm.
they've come up, with the movies and the music and the video games, and it's literally in our faces everywhere.
To get
Um,
subconscious consent, which
sub
bypasses karmic law and samsara and all that stuff. That yeah,
exactly.
and
Perfectly
that's
said.
to many people that would be like all crazy conspiracy theory and spiritual weird stuff. But it's like we
Hmm.
live in a weird world. Like life is crazy in general, just being born and existing in consciousness, and like people who deny the aspect of spiritual entities that we can't see and all this stuff. You got to wait. We're at the point now. You have to wake up. It doesn't matter whether or not you believe in it. Like it exists. Spirituality, all this stuff. It exists. You're animated by something, an energetic force. Energy isn't created or destroyed. We see
Hmm.
less than 1% of the light spectrum. Things are about to get real fucking crazy this year. And you better hop
I
on board to
agree.
realize, like, at the very least, even if you still deny everything, the elites, they believe it. They're doing it no matter what. They're doing these
Mhm.
rituals, they're doing this crazy satanic child trafficking shit. At the very
Mhm.
least, you have to admit that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like in the age of information that we live in right now, and I fully believe the internet itself was kind of the thing that shot the managerial class in the foot when they made that public in the what 80s or 90s. Um, that was the catalyst right there. For the first time in human history, we have the ability to exchange this information on a global scale instantly. And when you have the ability to share information that quickly and grow the awakening that fast, you actually have an opportunity to actually affect the change that we so desperately want to see. Before the internet, and in ancient history, or even like medieval times, whatever, Roman Empire, the information had no opportunity to spread that far because you didn't even have things like the mail system or whatever. So that information was localized. What we're seeing right now is not the first time that this has happened. There have been resets before, but in the past, when those resets happened, it was localized, to either just a city or maybe just one country or whatever. But now we have the internet, and we have social media. We have the TikTok and all of that stuff to be able to share all of this on a global scale. And so, for the first time again in human history, we're seeing 8 billion people who have been made aware of this information. And to kind of touch on your point as well, when the information is that in your face and you are still choosing to defend that system, you are being purposefully ignorant at that point. And that
Exactly.
is inexcusable.
And it's literally just like in the Matrix, like people who are so dependent on the system, and really have cowardice and don't want to do the right thing. You're
Mhm,
defending the system that's oppressing you and the people you love. So you are
mhm.
actually part of cowardice. I think is a form of evil. It's at least aiding and abetting it.
Exactly.
At a certain point, you got to pick a
Mhm.
side and do the right thing. There are, we see evil obviously exists, which means good has to exist as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and clearly there is two sides, and I think right now we're in a time for choosing. Like I think we're at the very end in that time for choosing. And do you know who Sammy Hagar is?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, have you heard that song he has called "Crack in the World"?
I probably have. Yeah, it may have been a while, but
He talks about the Great Divide
mhm.
that'll happen in 2025. He released it back in 1975 or
I
76,
know the one you're talking
right?
about is we
Right?
got 50 more years.
Yeah, till we're all gonna know,
That's
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he said,
Yep.
he got abducted by aliens or angels in the 60s, I think. And they
Mhm.
showed him, what's because time above this dimension doesn't really exist. Time is an illusion. So they know what's
Right.
going to happen. It's just, it doesn't mean that they're controlling what's going to happen, but at a dimension above, you can see like on a timeline in the video editor, like you can just see what will happen down the timeline. And,
Mhm.
they show that to him and he's like, he still says, I stick to my story. It 100% happened. And he wrote that song and it in the 70s and it's all come true. And I think the Great Divide did happen in 2025. And now we're really in that separation part where people who have woken up and chosen to do the right thing and are confronting and searching for the truth
Mhm.
versus people that are choosing to defend the system and siding with evil either by being evil themselves or through cowardice.
Right. Yeah. Just remaining complicit. Mhm.
Complicit, right. At a certain point, it is
Absolutely.
complicit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this too. So, the New York Times recently asked Donald Trump, do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to? Trump replied, yeah, there's one thing, my own morality and my own mind. That's the only thing that can stop me. And that's actually very good. do you do you have
Love the
confidence?
impression.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
love that.
Do you have confidence in Trump's morality and mind?
No,
No.
not
Yeah.
at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. And I mean, his actions on a day to day basis are just they speak for themselves. They absolutely do. And just like I had mentioned before, we're at a time now where these governments have absolutely gone rogue. They don't care anymore, and they're not even trying to hide the things that they're doing. Used to be that they actually had to be clever. Well, now we're actually dealing with a government that's not even smart enough to do that. I mean, look at what happened with the release of the Epstein files. They didn't even redact them correctly, and
They were
people
all
are,
solid blocks of black. And also,
yeah.
and yeah, and you could, yeah, what you're saying is like you could highlight it, copy and paste in a notepad and read,
Mhm.
right? Because they did it in like Adobe Acrobat Reader or whatever.
Yep.
Because then Elon Musk, because of the Doge, made them go to a cheaper option or something, so they didn't have the right software. So they had to use
Probably.
right, yeah. And so they didn't, yeah, you're right, they didn't redact it
Yeah,
correctly.
they didn't even redact it correctly because again, we're dealing with people who are just they are not smart. They're not intelligent. And they're getting sloppy and they're getting desperate. That's why you see what's going on right now with what's happening with Venezuela. And what's probably going to happen with Colombia. And of course, now you have Trump talking about Greenland. And he's doing it at such a rapid fire rate that it's absolute desperation because
Hmm.
here we've had, even if they weren't to release all of the files, the what we've seen so far is absolutely just incriminating as hell.
Yeah,
You
absolutely
can't
damning.
dispute that. Oh, absolutely, for sure. And even that has shoved a massive crack into the system. And so what they're doing, I don't know if you heard that sound bite that people are still debating about whether or not it's AI, but Trump screaming into the phone, you know,
I love it.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're not releasing the
Yeah.
Epstein files. Start a
Start a
fucking war if
fucking
you.
war.
And now where are we? That is not a coincidence. I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah,
believe in those. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's another distraction. And it's because they know that the game is up. And so now they're going to scratch and claw and they're going to try to accelerate the plans that they've already had
Hmm.
because they're out of options. They absolutely are out of options at this point. So no, I have no faith whatsoever in Trump's morality
Yeah,
or his mind. He
right.
is Delulu.
Yeah. And but it's so, like we talked about, it's so out there now where he's like, no, I have no restrictions. I'll do whatever the fuck I want to do. That's what he's
Right.
saying out in the open. And so at this point, you can't deny it. That is what a dictator does. He didn't get a declaration of war, didn't go to Congress, didn't do all that stuff. And there was even that clip of him where they're asking, like, hey, do you want to get a declaration of war? He's like, no, I don't think we need one. I think I'm just going to start killing people. Did you see that clip? Yeah. I mean,
I did. I
it's
did.
out in the open. It's out in the open. So no one can deny this shit anymore, whether you voted for him. You got to accept, like, yeah, you got bamboozled, you got tricked. I did when I was 18 years old. And,
Mhm.
I get it. It's not fun. But I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
we knew it was still lesser of two evils anyway. So it's like, yeah, forgive each other. And like, now is the time to come together, have a real United States, real unity. And
Mhm.
no other country is going to, China ain't going to come over here and free us. And if they did, they're taking over us anyway. So
Of
like,
course.
we have to free ourselves. And when we free
Mhm.
ourselves, we're actually freeing the world, like you talked about in your videos,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, just like in the movie A Bug's Life, that was absolutely not a children's movie. That was an adult movie.
Hmm.
You have the scene in the bar where the grasshoppers are talking to each other, and he starts by throwing one pellet at his friend and asks, "Did that hurt?" And then, no, and so he throws another pellet. Well, did that hurt? Then, of course, he dumps all the pellets on it. And the famous line in that movie, if one stands up, then they might all stand up, and there goes our way of life. That singular line right there is literally the theme of the entire movie, and it is exactly what we're looking at right now. And because they know that at this point they really only have two ways to keep the power that they have remaining, and it's either through force or coercion. Those are the only two
Hmm.
plays that they have left.
Exactly. Yeah.
Too many people are awake anymore for them to be able to try to pull the wool over the eyes. They may still get I think it's like 24% that are still, supporting what these maggots are doing. But I think you have enough awakened people now where
It's
it's
that's close.
like,
Maggots is close to the word like MAGA.
I know.
Megots. Yeah.
I had heard
Yeah.
that once before. I'm like, you know what? I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolute and utter just desperation at this point. They've pretty much just become. It's funny to think that they've kind of become the animal now that's backed into the corner, and so now they're just
Hmm.
literally lashing out because they don't have any other option. The system is going to die, and so they're in that last stitch effort where they're like, you know what? If I'm going to go down, I'm absolutely going to go down swinging.
Yeah, it is like animal backed in the corner, or almost like getting rid of a parasite. And that's what they are. They're narcissistic, evil parasites that have been feeding off of, everyone's, energy and work, essentially. Like J.D. Rockefeller has that famous quote. I put on one of my articles. It's like, I'd rather earn 99. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, I'd rather earn 99% off of other people's work than 1% off of my own work, or something like that.
I'm vaguely familiar with the one that you're referencing. Yeah, of course, I'm more familiar with the "I want a nation of thinkers and not or workers and not thinkers."
Right. Yeah.
But that's absolutely the truth. I mean, just you really don't have to have a doctorate to look back and see what's going on here. We literally have a tiny group of people who are living life on permanent vacation while the rest of us are absolutely breaking our backs and tearing our bodies down. For what? For what?
And
We're
on
getting
top of that,
scrapped.
healthcare too. Like
Oh, absolutely.
they definitely got the fucking cure for cancer and killing anyone who is trying to like put it out there. There's definitely been
Sure.
technologies like cars that can run on water. I'm sure you saw that guy who was like, "I've been poisoned," when they met with the people that patented it and all that shit.
Absolutely.
There's been several instances of that, and same with
Oh yeah.
Tesla. Tesla had like free energy, and he got fucked over
Varden's
so many
power. Yep.
times. Yeah,
Yep.
it's clear that someone's been suppressing our freedom and having a utopia. Really, I really think. I mean, utopia is maybe not the right word, but having just the potential for absolute awesomeness on this planet. There's some force that's been doing that. So,
Agreed.
um, kind of covered a lot of this.
Mhm.
So we kind of talked about, maybe you have anything to expand on this. How does spirituality come into play with the world elites? What do you think they're, besides that we talked about how they're all working together, but they're also like different gangs that compete against each other sometimes.
Mhm.
What level of occultism do you think they're all participating in? Do you think I think it's like they have been working with some evil entities. I'm that
Mhm.
conspiracy there. I'm that person for everyone watching. I don't think it's
Yeah.
crazy. I've experienced very spiritual things myself. I've died a bunch, come back to life, so I have an excuse to really say like I've been there. I know shit.
Yeah.
So I know that stuff's real. So for me, I can say that. But do you think it's at that level, or it's more just they believe it and they're just acting on it, but it may not be real? What level do you think it is?
I think it's absolutely at that level for sure. From the research that I've done, kind of what I've learned, it goes all the way back to the story of Sophia.
Hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar. Sophia is all-encompassing knowledge and wisdom, and she's also the spirit of creativity. Um, these people that are doing what they're doing, the managerial class, I absolutely believe that they are engaged in nothing short of state satanic ritual and blood sacrifice. Um, One of the entities that actually Sophia, if you go through the stories and go through all the names,
Which is
that
ancient
she
Gnosticism for people who know.
exactly not
Yeah, it's
right,
Gnosticism.
and
Yeah.
I'm Gnostic myself, so
Mm.
but one of the entities that she creates goes by the name of Yaldabaoth. And Yaldabaoth is very much an insecure, militaristic, just egotistical psychopath of a demiurge. And it's traditionally thought and taught within those circles that Yaldabaoth actually is currently the ruler of this realm that we live in, because that's really what this is. The Earth is it's a realm. Um, and so these people, of course, I'm sure they know the stories because their history goes back so far, and they've done a better job at keeping track of it than anybody. Ours has either been destroyed or buried. So I believe it's some form of, say, the demiurge, or, this Yaldabaoth character that they absolutely have sworn their life to. And the things that they're doing, these sacrifices that they make are in an effort to absolutely appease this entity, because, allegedly this entity is what gave them the power that they have. And it actually does demand the evil stuff that we're hearing about. Unfortunately, the missing children that go, and the women, and the trafficking, and the drinking of the blood, and all of these things that people would label as, oh, that's got to be conspiracy. No,
Right.
it's actually happening.
Yeah.
These people have legitimately convinced themselves that they are serving this, and that by doing so, not only will they have eternal power, but that they will also have eternal life. I've been seeing so many stories now, and hearing medical workers actually speak up about parts of hospitals that nobody has ever been to before, where they actually harvest organs. And there's absolutely a black market
Hmm.
economy for human organs that these people ship to wherever they take them to be
Even just
implanted
with
within
wisdom teeth, you hear
themselves.
about that? Like every time we get our
No.
wisdom teeth taken out, they have like
Hmm.
stem cells in them. And so
Yeah,
like they've been selling our wisdom teeth behind our back. Just like that's a small, tiny example, but
I
that's
hadn't
all
heard
I've
that
heard.
one, but I don't doubt it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I mean, just look at the whole thing with the adrenochrome.
Yeah.
That's becoming public knowledge. I mean, they are absolutely, they are drinking the blood, believing that by introducing that into their bodies, that it's going to rejuvenate them to the point that they literally will live forever. I mean, there's a reason that there's a common theme in a lot of different movies and stories about immortality. People
Hmm.
have been searching for that for so very long. The
And
difference
ancient
between,
cultures used to do the blood sacrifices and sacrificing kids and all that stuff. It's the same kind
yeah,
of thing to that kind of entity. And it's
yeah,
all based
Peter.
in fear, right? Fear energy. Like Monsters Inc. is a movie
Mhm.
that kind of portrays it well, is scaring
Yes.
the shit out of kids, capturing that fear energy, and then powering the monsters city.
Hmm.
I wonder what that's alluding to. Where did
Yeah,
that come from? Just creativity? Oh, let's make a movie about this for fun. And we're going to show it to children for fun. Look how fun it is. We're scaring children to capture their fear, to, to
absolutely.
power a monster city. That's just not random at all. Come on.
No, there's no
Yeah.
way. It's the loosh. They're absolutely
Yeah.
going after loosh. That's what feeds them. Because that's the only thing that can keep their system running. They have to keep us fighting. They have to keep us tired. They have to keep us miserable
Because
and
we're
distract.
powerful. Like we're
We
we're
are.
really powerful and we're
Yes.
connected. We have that divine spark within us that's connected to Sophia and that higher, what's I'm sure you know is called the monad, right? The real
Hmm.
one true reality where the one real true God is the infinite source of power beyond comprehension. And that
Exactly.
we can still, where Jesus came from. He was a teacher and ascended master, right? That came from there to come down here and wake people up and say, hey, you have that divine spark in you and you
Hmm.
can make it out of here. Those were his. You want to get into that a little bit?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when Jesus said the words, "The kingdom of God is within you," he meant that literally,
Hmm.
because every single one of us has a fractal or a piece of that divine spark within us. And boy, you want to talk about how powerful people are. I mean, if you could imagine just how powerful one individual sovereign person is, just imagine if you put together a group of sovereign people. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. We're working towards that. We are absolutely, through this whole awakening process, seeing the growth of that soul family, these awakened groups that are starting to come together and grow together to spread the message that, look, if we were to unify and love each other, and take care of each other the way that they're supposed to, that takes the food away from their system.
Hmm.
Every soul that's awakened is another one that's saved from that. And that's what they're scared of. They are terrified of that because they know that that's the truth. They have to
Hmm.
operate on that fear. It's not that they're necessarily like legitimately feeding on fear and that's what sustains their bodies. No, it sustains their organism, their organism of evil, that system
All
that
right.
they've
Well, maybe
created.
actually feeding the entities that are around us that we can't see, right? The spirits or
Right.
whatever, in another realm, but not physically feeding like the people, like the billionaires or whatever. Yeah, they're not
Exactly.
actually feeding off it, but these entities probably are that they're like working for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And some people know them as like reptilians or whatever things like that. I'm sure there's different kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
There's
good
all sorts of
forces too
different names
helping
for
us as
them.
well. You know,
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's absolutely a spiritual war going on with all of this too. We're not just witnessing a physical war fought with, bullets and missiles and tanks and things like that. There's a spiritual war that's going on for the control of our minds and our souls and our
Hmm.
hearts. That's going on simultaneously. um, and again, that you see it so much in religion. That's kind of like the avenue that they use to kind of steal that spirituality from us,
Hmm.
because typically the common thread in most of the religions is that God is external. Instead of what the Gnostics would teach is that God is internal, and Jesus said the same thing. It's within you.
Hmm.
But by twisting that and inverting it, because that's their most famous tactic, is turning everything upside down.
Just like
Um,
Stranger Things, literally admitting this is the upside down, right? Like this is
yeah,
that's what we live in. It's all inverted.
it's all inverted. The food pyramid upside down. I mean, which sounds silly, but it's absolutely true. You take that, you put that into the spiritual world, you absolutely invert that. Well, then it's no secret when people are searching for purpose and for hope outwardly, you're never going to find it. You're never going to
Hmm.
find. You'll be chasing it forever. But if you turn inside and realize that each and every one of us is enough, and we don't have to perform. We are enough simply by being alive. By
Hmm.
having breath and consciousness, we are enough. And that's what makes us so powerful, because if we understand that, we cannot be controlled.
I would say a good test is like I remember once I heard a song about how you should like love yourself, and
Mhm.
I looked in the mirror and I just said, just to try, I was like, hey, I love you. I was like, oh, it feels weird. I was like, why does that feel weird? Why would it
Yeah.
feel weird to love yourself? And I think so many of us are programmed that you should not love yourself and not accept yourself and be who you truly are and not be your weird, creative, fun self. I from another article I was writing about being your weird, authentic self. I looked up the etymology of the word weird, and it means
Mhm.
to be a controller of your own fate, which means to really follow your soul's purpose. And we're always
Right.
told to censor ourselves, not be weird and quirky and funny, and
Hmm.
be authentic, which is like the most powerful vibration, even above love, is authenticity. And
Hmm.
everyone sacrifices who they truly are to blend in. And really, the way I've figured it out was like capitalism, obviously, we're seeing isn't working out great. You're capitalizing off survival, but communism is bad as well because
Hmm.
you're smushing down the individual to raise the many, right? So
Right.
you're cutting off everyone's head to make it equal. And I realized what we need to do is empower everybody to be their most authentic self and uplift everyone in that way. That so we're truly at our own strengths. At school is all the same, treating everyone the same, even though like Albert Einstein talked about, if you judge a fish on its ability on how to climb a tree, you'll call it stupid forever, right? So we're
Exactly. I
treating
love that
everyone
one.
right.
Hmm.
It's a great one. He
Yeah.
also has great quotes about creativity and how it's like the most important thing too. And obviously, school is made by the Rockefellers on purpose
Hmm.
to smush us all down, get rid of our creativity, have obedient workers, and I think we're finally waking up to school is not education at all. It's the complete opposite. And
Hmm.
education really starts with knowing who you truly are on the inside. And then once you have that clarity, then you can focus outwardly on taking the appropriate actions on what you're really
Hmm.
meant to be doing in this lifetime.
Absolutely. And I mean, it starts from birth. It really does. And I mean, how could you ever expect a person to love themselves when literally from the beginning we're taught that you're born a sinner and that you're broken and that
Hmm.
you're not perfect and that you're not worthy and that you have to earn, your entry into the gates of heaven. When you're constantly
Right.
bombarded from that, literally from the moment that you come out of the womb, and you don't know any different because you don't learn any different. I mean, they've done such a good job of just completely and very thoroughly creating the system because they've been doing it for thousands of years. If you have thousands of
Mhm.
years to do this, then yeah, it's going to permeate literally every minuscule part of our life. But because of those messages, it's absolutely no secret as to why people believe that, they're broken and that, they shouldn't rise up and that they shouldn't embrace who we are. Because we're also taught at the same time that that validation has to come from outside. You know,
Mhm.
we have to fit in, we have to be accepted, we have to look for validation from other people. And whether that's in relationships with our family or our friends or our partners, we are just constantly beaten into the ground. And if you constantly search for that outside validation and you're faced in a world that, I mean, look at, dating anymore nowadays, it's just rejection, 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 rejection. that
Mhm.
is that is so difficult to deal with. And anybody, I think, I used to think I was pretty strong too, but I've even been in a relationship that was just so bad that I literally became a shell of a person. And it took realizing that, you know what, I am good enough. I don't care that I have a terrible credit score. I don't care that I don't drive the newest vehicle. I don't
Mhm.
care that I live in a tiny little one bedroom rent house, or that, I live in or that I work in a tiny little one stop shop. That's all material. That's all things. But that's what
Mhm.
we've been trained to accept as this is what makes you worthy of love, and of acceptance within the greater group of society. And that's absolutely a lie. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think you're absolutely on that. Yeah,
Yeah, you also really can't truly love other people if you don't fully love yourself because you're
of
always
course.
projecting that internal state. So again, yeah, it goes back to a culture of we need to transform into focusing on. I mean, it's going to be a big. I've just like I'm sure you have in your life. Have you had a lot of isolation as well
Yes.
and
Yeah, I
reflection?
have.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I've had just tons of isolation, and again, that's one of the hardest things a person can go through is extreme isolation. But when you go
Hmm.
through that, you get immense clarity, and you have to face your demons. You have to confront all that shit that's really in your mind that you're not addressing. And when AI takes over jobs and we go through this transition, no matter what happens, people are going to have to finally face themselves. And it's going to be a challenge. It's, what in spirituality, it's called the dark night of the soul. And
Yes.
it can take a lot of people out. It's very challenging to confront all these truths and deprogram yourself essentially to embody your
Hmm.
most authentic self and your truest self, which often brings you to God and Jesus Christ and his teachings,
Yeah.
honestly. But
Right.
that once we go through that transition, society will it has to become the society that you've talked about, where we are all taking care of each other because if we all love ourselves and are forced
Hmm.
to finally confront and ourselves and love ourselves and deprogram from everything, all the lies we've been taught and external validation, society naturally will become that if we all love ourselves.
Right.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And it might take a few generations. I mean, even what we're facing right now took several generations to do. You kind of have to start from the beginning. And what we're talking about doing it's an entire paradigm shift,
Yeah.
which is the largest singular thing that I think we've ever, as a human species, tried to do. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to be immediate, but with time and with effort and with cooperation, we absolutely could build that utopia. Where we no
Hmm.
longer see a world with war and with discrimination and with hate and all of these things. These are all the things that they put into the system and put into the matrix to keep us the way that they are, the way that we are. We're separate. We can't trust our neighbor. We can't even develop friendly relationships and have, guys' night anymore. Or any. You might have a few little cliques that kind of do that, but even they are probably typically asleep still and they're just doing the poker night thing, whatever. Um, yeah, it's not easy. It is an absolute. We're trying to invert the inversion, and it
Right.
seems like an impossible task.
I think there are spiritual forces that are helping us, though. I don't think it'll take, I'm an optimist. I don't think it'll take generations.
Mhm.
I think that the new generations, like you saw in my last interview with
Mhm.
Kristen Ventura, who's working on making housing a human right. I think my generation, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and
Mhm.
I don't know what the one that comes after Alpha, but like, I just don't see, no matter what, we are not taking over the system that we inherited. Like there's just
Oh,
no,
for sure.
there's no way. If you even
It's
open
not
up,
sustainable.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
sustainable. It's already collapsing, like we've been talking about. But also,
Right.
just our personalities just don't even remotely match that what we've inherited from our parents. The Boomer generation and the Gen X, there's something going on there. Like I've noticed a pattern of like just so much narcissism and so much. I don't know. Have you noticed that, like Gen X and
Oh,
boomers?
absolutely. Oh yeah. You don't have to look
Yeah,
very far or very hard to see it.
just
It's it's all around me. I see it on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm at my job 6 days a week.
yeah,
I don't really go anywhere else outside of that too much. But even yeah, I do see it in that absolutely, and it's yeah. I think there's definitely something to what you're saying too. You know, the generations that we're seeing, the younger ones especially. I mean, when you look at the things that you're saying, I see it on my TikTok channel all the time and my For You page. I mean, all of them have the same theme. We are done working the 9 to 5. So you have an entire society now that's not going to go into the workforce. They're not going in to get college degrees. They're not even doing things like buying cars. You know, I'm in the mechanical repair field in automobiles, and I see it slowing down there because my demographic is shrinking. It's still typically the boomers that are coming in to get their vehicles fixed, and even maybe
Mhm.
some of the Gen X and maybe some of the millennials, but it's trickling away. And so the generations that are younger, like yours and Gen Alpha, yeah, they've had it.
Yeah,
They
really.
have absolutely had it. And I think it would be absolute insanity to try to inherit the system that is collapsing and to try to repair it. That would be just,
Yeah.
that'd be so dumb. So dumb.
So yeah, it's so dumb. I don't even think it's
Yeah,
possible. Honestly, I
it's
don't.
not.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
possible. And with
Mhm.
AI and all that other shit going on, like we are in a new direction completely anyway. So when I had him
Yeah.
on my podcast, I'm like, we're talking about, hey, what future do we want to design here? Like it's actually going to be open. It's going to be
Hmm.
open to a whole new set of possibilities. So let's make it a good one. Like he was talking about, when he's making these free housing units and apartments and tiny houses and stuff,
Hmm.
even when they're just the starting phase and they're small, he's like, hey, we don't have to make all the doors rectangles. We don't have to make them all painted white and minimalist. And we can actually have fun with it, bring color back. And I told him,
Yes.
look into neuroarchitecture and how, like looking at arches and circles and how different colors affect your brain chemistry and how you operate in your daily life. It's really affects us a great deal. And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
so I just love that people like him are looking into that and considering those new possibilities of having awesomeness, having fun. Like there's no fun anymore. Fun's been
Right.
eradicated in our society completely. And we need
You're
to get
right.
back to creativity and play, right?
Hmm. Oh, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. I would love to see a town where every single house looks different. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, "Oh, I don't want to live in a suburb because it's made of cookie cutter houses." You know, they're all the
Dude,
same.
that
They're
looks like
boring.
hell to me. It looks like I could never live in a it looks like just that seems like a Truman Show nightmare. I grew up
Oh,
in one and I was like,
absolutely.
I hated every minute of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And I think it would be great to see, houses with circle doors or funky shaped roofs or, this and that, the other. Because that, like you said, it's creativity, it's expression, and let's bring back the arts, let's bring back music, let's bring back dance and just being goofy. That's why I love things like what you do, stand-up comedy, because it's just all about being absolutely silly and who cares what people think about that? Not everybody's
Mhm.
going to like it, sure. But, one of the things we have to kind of get out of our heads is this idea that we have to care so much what people think about us. Be unapologetically yourself and express yourself in whatever way that is, whether it's the clothes that you wear or the way that you decorate your home or even the way that you build your home, the shape. Do you live in a storage container that you've turned into a tiny home, or do you live in, a gingerbread house or whatever? I mean, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. And Gen G's
Hmm.
like screaming out front, not my gumdrop buns on the truck.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're about an hour and a half in, and I think this was a great conversation. Thank you, Auren. I really appreciate it. And is there anything you want to plug or promote while you're here?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I definitely want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Like I said, this was the first one that I've ever done. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to kind of put this message out there because I think it still breaks my heart that there's still so many people out there that think too small, and that there are still so many people who are so afraid of the possibilities that we really could bring into our lives if we really just truly accepted who we are and started dreaming big again. Just stop shrinking yourself to the size of an ant because you're so much bigger than that. And when people, I think, start to actually own that truth, then we really have the best opportunity to kind of bring back that utopia that we so desperately deserve and reclaim our birthright again.
Exactly. Actually, could you describe real quick? You had a great video on what our birthright is to live here on
Mhm.
Earth. Could you describe what you believe our birthright is being here on Earth?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Earth was created obviously as a garden. It was the entire Earth, and humanity as a whole was created as a species to steward the Earth and to play and to create together. And so, it is literally our birthright to be able to just live and exist together without having to work. Our shelter should be free. That's why I love Actum so much. Our food should be free because the earth literally grows it automatically. Um, Energy should be free. I mean, the sun radiates energy right out of the sky, and we could have free energy with solar panels on every home. Water, it rains from the sky again for free. And for anybody to believe that they have any right to ownership of that is just absolutely crazy. And so that's what I mean by our birthright is to be able to exist and to simply be alive on a planet that was gifted to us along with the gift of life.
And then I know some of the biggest detractors in your comments will say like, how will we exist without monetary system of like paying to eat, or how will you know who owns this, or I live here and you don't live here? How would that work?
I think that we have to completely abandon that mentality altogether. Because in a village of people who truly love each other unconditionally, there is no ownership. There is no this is mine or this is yours. It's everybody sharing everything. If we bring back that village mentality where when one person falls, 20 rise up to lift that person up. If their house burns down, then the village comes together to rebuild it. And you don't charge for that. You don't need insurance to rebuild that because the
Mm.
resources are already here. The only thing you need is the compassion, the love, and the volunteer manpower.
And but people still will own their own. Like this is my house, this is your house, but still have that village or community mindset about helping each other. But you still have your
Of
own
course,
house and your own area and your own items and things like that. And
absolutely.
and what would you say about though? Like some people would say, well, what if I put in more effort and I want more things or more luxury things or something like that? Do you think there should be some sort of maybe not money, but some sort of system in place or no system?
Again, I think no system because in a world yet again that offers every single one of the resources for free, you don't have to have this mentality of I need more, whether that more comes in the form of quantity or whether it comes in the form of luxury. I mean, heck, if you're that person and you want more, well, guess what? You can wake up on any given day and you've already got the food and everything provided for you, and you have all the time in the world to create and build all the things that you want.
Mm.
You know, and if you have a group of people around you that want to do that with you, then that's fine. The more the merrier that want to do that. But I think we do absolutely have to abandon that idea of, well, if I put in more effort, then I deserve more. It's that entitlement mentality that
Mhm.
absolutely is a cancer. And if that is allowed to spread, then it won't take long and we'll find ourselves exactly where we are right now yet again.
Right. I would agree with that. I would say it would be that meant, that culture, that kind of bacteria can like literally spread like a cancer. And
Yeah.
when we have AI and we have, and it, and super intelligence and things like that, maybe even spiritual entities intervening here. I was telling you about Chris Bledsoe and his protection. I don't know if you had time to
Yeah.
look into it, but when we have all these things helping us, I think that is a good point where if you want something more, like some luxury items or whatever, you're going to have help from AI, robots, as well as you can get a group together and be like, hey, we're all interested in this one thing, based on interest and kind of like Star Trek. I think Star Trek has a system
I'm
kind of like
glad you
that
mentioned
where
that. Yeah. Hmm.
we're all interested in space travel and exploring the stars. They don't get paid money to do that. They join
Right.
Starfleet because that's all interest based, and you're all. It goes back to almost like the law of attraction too, and vibration and authenticity being your highest
Hmm.
vibration. Like attracts like in quantum physics. So people who are interested in a certain thing authentically, following their
Yes.
soul's path and desire, they'll all find each other like their soul tribe, and you'll work on, hey, I actually want to build this thing. I'm interested in this, and whether it's something small like, hey, I want to make cool suits or jackets, or I want to go
Yeah.
explore the stars, or I want to go do this. You'll find each other, and you'll do it for the love of the game, not for money. And this is what the
Exactly.
Earth really is. We're souls having a human experience, which is like a video game. So when you're
Right.
playing a video game, you're playing that game for the experience. You're not
Hmm.
playing that game for anything else but that. Even if you're like getting stuff in the game and acquiring
Right.
stuff, you're loading up that game on your computer or PC or Xbox or PlayStation for that pure experience, even getting things in the game. So I think
Yes.
that is a really good point.
Right. And to kind of add to it, if I may, each and every one of us are born with different interests. We are born with different passions. We are born with different things that really kind of set our soul on fire. Not everybody wants to build houses. Not everybody wants to be a cook. Not everybody wants to make clothes or, be a gardener. But there are
Mhm.
people that are. There are people with those passions. And so who's to say that the playwright is contributing any more or less than the person who's building the shelters? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If we all remember that we have individual and unique skills, passions, creative ideas, and we just work together as a cooperative society to contribute whatever those are, then we have kind of that melting pot where uh, each each passion will just mutually take care of the other one.
Mhm.
It's not about, I think one of the mistakes that people make is they assume that in this type of society we're talking about, it's like, okay, so I have to build my own house, then I have to garden my own food. That's a lot of work. And I have to
Mhm.
harvest my own water, and I have to do this again. It's the I have to do it myself mentality. And that's not the case. The village takes care of the village, and our each and individual unique passions. That's our contribution to society. If somebody wants to write music, you know, they shouldn't be punished by not being given food because they don't participate in the garden.
Uh-huh.
You know, let the gardeners garden, let the playwrights and the musicians do their thing, let the construction workers build their their houses and their buildings and things like that. It's all a complete system. That's the way it
Right.
should work. Nobody has to do everything. Nobody wants to do everything. Nobody can.
That's a very good point. I think that is the fear that a lot of people have of like being stuck alone. Like when you think that you're taking away the system that we inherited that's, capitalizing off other survival, they think they'll have to be alone, not they won't have that village because we are so isolated right now, and that's what we've been
Hmm.
accustomed to. But yeah, our values are going to have to be changing here very soon. And we're going to have systems like AI doing a lot of the baseline stuff for us. And when you can
Yeah,
have homes being 3D printed or like just basic needs taken care of, we're finally going to go out of survival mode and be able to thrive and have a new renaissance. There's
exactly.
precedents in history, like renaissances have happened. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we were not slaves to our 9 to 5 jobs, and if all of our basic human needs were met, if we had that shelter that was free, if we had the free food and everything like that, that literally frees us up and gives us the ability to invest our time into that innovation and that creativity.
Mhm.
And if we share in all of that information and the resources, if we share all of that for free, imagine the world that we could create.
Well, think about all the creativity that's been stifled because people are just
Hmm.
stuck in their 9 to 5 in a survival mode. I
Yep.
mean, people are like real, genuine people who have that creative spark. We we're capable. So many when you have those masses ready, and it's good to be bored sometimes, right? That's when all your
Sure.
ideas come to you. Like Tesla always talked about famously about all the best ideas come to you when you're in isolation, and same with Albert Einstein, and also when
Hmm.
you're like between sleep and awake and all that stuff. When people get into that mode, it's going to be exponential growth, kind of like with AI. It'll be
Hmm.
exponential human creativity growth. And our
Absolutely.
society, I think Tesla has a quote about that. When we finally have our basic needs met, our within like 5 or 10 years, our society will be exponentially completely different for the better. So I think there is much more hope and positivity for the future than people are giving it. Like, yeah, now the transition it
Hmm.
sucks and it's scary, and what are we going to do? But we're seeing people standing up and ready for the change. And it is the Great Awakening. It is their age of Aquarius. It is
Hmm.
all lining up with prophecy, like spiritual, real prophecy. Whether it's the Book of Revelations, the Hopi Native American prophecy, the age of Aquarius, and spirituality. It's all the same prophecy, but it's coming true. So even if the elites
Absolutely.
are kind of staging, they may be staging the Book of Revelations to a degree to
Yeah.
control it in their own way. It's still happening separate from that, I think, too. And I just am incredibly hopeful. And not even hope, I don't want to say hopeful. I think hope can sometimes be, there can be false hope too.
Yeah.
I think we are determined to be on a path of goodness. I think I just had the intuition. My intuition is very strong that good things are coming, and this year is that transition towards that trajectory of having that solar punk kind of society.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean this with all of my heart. The one thing that is the most powerful hindrance to affecting the change that we want to see is the fear. And if
Hmm.
people learn to stop being afraid, uh, or at least don't allow that fear to stop them from taking that first step, then we can really start to see the change that we want to see or become the change that we want to see. But we have got to stop being afraid.
100%. And the Bible, it says more than anything, right? Like, don't be afraid. That's like one major theme of the Bible. And, a lot of the Bible, I don't
Exactly.
believe everything in the Bible. Like, we talked about Paul, but that is definitely one thing that's true. Like, don't be afraid. And even if you are afraid, like, go confront your fears, sit alone with them, and just let them dissipate. And even honestly, pray to Jesus Christ. Like he is a force, a spiritual force that exists. He's
Mhm.
changed my life, especially very recently. And you can feel him. Like when you pray to it, like you can genuinely feel as someone who's died a bunch and come back to life and had crazy spiritual experiences. You can feel Jesus Christ with you. He is a real person and a real spiritual force that's with you. And he even
Exactly.
says in the Bible, like, I will be with the Father ready to assist you, or something close to that.
Mhm.
Once he is left Earth, and he's available, he's there. So, as crazy, even if you're like, oh, I don't want to hear about Jesus or whatever, I know a lot of us can get to that point because there, people will go door to door from different branches, like Mormons and stuff. Like, have you heard about our
Right.
Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? And be kind of
Right.
annoying with it. Jesus wasn't annoying. He was a rebel. He was fierce in his love and for protecting the innocent and the good. He was awesome. Like he wasn't
Yeah.
exactly how he's been portrayed by religious control systems. So just try
Right.
it. Just like pray to Jesus. Don't even have to pray to him. Just be like, hey, I want a relationship with you as like a friend. It's
Right.
yeah. And so I recommend that. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, absolutely. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and check out my other podcasts. And also, I have the Substack with articles I've written, some about Jesus Christ and stuff, my own personal experiences. And I'd appreciate if you subscribe there too. And check out Auren on his TikTok channel. Do you have any other socials?
Just a TikTok, actually. Nope,
Just
that's the
TikTok.
only one.
Cool. Well, you have some very poignant things, and I look forward to the next videos you're putting out. And thanks for joining me today, Auren. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks everyone for watching. See you in the next episode.